As introduced, my name is Andy Merrin. I'm the Innovation and Decarbonisation Director. Excuse my voice because I'm getting over a bit of a cold, but I should be fine. See how we get on throughout the slides. And my topic, as it says on the slide, rising to the retrofit challenge. So just a little bit of a chat around what we're doing at United Living, the conversations we're having with some of our clients, and some of the next steps that we're trying to put in place with our clients around what we just talked about there in terms of business as usual. How do we get our clients retrofit ready and fit for the future so they can align their decarbonisation strategies with the rest of their priorities in their asset management strategies? So just very quickly, a little bit about, if we go forward, a little bit about United Living. For those of you who don't know who we are, United Living Group is about a £600 million turnover business. We have three pillars, as that second box indicates on the slide. I work in property services, and that's the business that refurbishes and regenerates various estates around the UK for our clients. We also have a new homes division and an infrastructure division. So new homes, as it says in the tin, new build homes across the UK. Infrastructure services is about critical infrastructure around the UK, whether it's communications, whether it's gas pipes, whether it's water pipes around the UK for all our clients. So quite a diverse business, and we think we have quite a good view on the future of decarbonisation across the UK, across all those three pillars. And property services, we operate in various different sectors across that refurbishment sector. So we do wound safety, obviously, we do planned maintenance, we do responsive maintenance, we do retrofit, which I'm going to talk about to you guys today. We do things like hidden homes, rooftop developments, that sort of stuff to try and add assets to our clients' assets across the UK. So retrofit. So we've been involved with retrofits for quite a while now, and like a lot of our clients and a lot of you guys on the call today, it's been piecemeal in the past. It's been very slow stop-start in terms of funding and different initiatives raised by the government. So it's been really slow starting. Over the last few years, 2-3 years, we've seen some real increase in interest, increase in programs going forward, and we're starting to see some real, large schemes that are going ahead for a lot of our clients that we work with. So some of the projects that we mentioned on that first slide, Energy Sprong. So you may have heard of it. It's a Dutch concept. It's quite a high spec project initiative for our clients. It's usually high cost as well. But why we're involved with that is because we think there's a lot of innovation coming from these projects, a lot of new initiatives that are coming through that are going to trickle down to the smaller scale schemes over the coming years. So we've got to be involved with these innovative projects to see those synergies and to use those innovations on other projects. So Energy Sprong, it provides that energy performance specification, quite a high level specification in terms of energy performance. So you're talking about 40-50 kilowatt heat demand across those properties, but it also puts a guarantee with that property as well, so that us as the retrofit provider will be putting a guarantee in place for 10, 20, 30 years, depending on the scheme, that provides some credibility to the scheme and provides some redress for the client to say, if anything goes wrong with our design and our retrofit, they can come back to us and we need to put it right because we've guaranteed the performance for that over the next 10 or 20 years. It also has a comfort plan in place, and that's where the client is able to recoup some of the capital costs from the resident at no additional cost to the resident. So from the savings they're going to make, because they are making significant savings on their energy bills, from some of those savings, they can recoup some of those savings back into the capital expenditure, the initial works over the next 10, 20 years for that property. And as I said, it does try and prioritize innovation within these schemes. And so we're talking about off-site manufacturing, so panelized solutions. We're looking at pods for M&E solutions, and we're looking at better monitoring systems, and even innovation around how we implement that comfort plan and how we recoup that money on a monthly basis. All requires innovation. So we're seeing some really good innovations coming through on those schemes. So some of the schemes we're working on, we're just coming to the end of the Ealing scheme now, 44 properties where we did use the Energy Sprong concept. We're just about to start another scheme with Camden, 11 properties for those guys. And we're also about to start, we're just through the design stage now with Treadgold House, which is next door to Grenfell. So quite a key scheme for us, 38 flats in RBKC, quite a key scheme, all applying those Energy Sprong concepts. So innovation, trying to push off-site solutions, trying to push M&E pods, trying to use comfort plans, and trying to move the market forward as we try and deliver some of these schemes at scale. Because that's where we are now in terms of going away from pilot schemes and 10, 20, 30 properties at a time. We're now trying to get to 300, 400, 500, even to the thousands of properties now on some of these schemes. So it's about how we can deliver some of those bigger schemes at scale at reduced cost. So the next set of projects I wanted to talk about was on the SHDF, which will be quite key for a lot of the clients at the moment. They're all applying for funding. So we've been involved from the very start and done a demonstrator phase. Excuse me. And we've been working with Clarion for the last 2 or 3 years now on these different waves for SHDF. The first demonstrator phase, we focused on 60 properties, and it was quite a higher cost. So we were talking about 50, 60 grand a property for these retrofits, but again, it was achieving quite high energy performance targets. That 50 kilowatt heat demand is quite a difficult one to achieve. So you need to put a lot of fabric improvements in place, past 2035 compliance. And you can see from the graph at the bottom, or the table at the bottom, that we did improve quite significantly the SAP space heating requirement from 140-ish down to 30. So we got well below that 50 kilowatt heat demand on those first schemes. But, you know, as I say, it was 40, 50, 60 grand, depending on the properties. So quite high cost, and something that Clarion wanted to do to try and replicate, because this Wimpy No Fines archetype they used is prevalent in their stock. They've got thousands of them across the UK, and they wanted to understand how they could improve that particular archetype across their stock, and then use the lessons learned to then apply it across all those Wimpy No Fines. Not necessarily exactly the same, but use some of the lessons learned, the innovation that was used, and then start applying it across their asset strategies for the next few years. And then we moved into wave 1 and wave 2. Again, so wave 2 will be quite interesting for some of the guys, some of the people on the call, because they'll all be applying for schemes now. But wave 1, we had 3 schemes, just coming to the end of those as well. I think we had 4 actually in the end. One that came to us last minute. But 3 of the key schemes we had. Clarion again continuing on the lessons learned from demonstrator phase, going to wave 1. It went from 60 to 250 properties. You can see that scaling up to try and really implement some of those lessons learned. Places for people doing the same, going from 127 in wave 1 to 250 in wave 2. Focusing on Hive, 35 properties that we worked on with those guys as well. And then on wave 2, we worked on probably about 8 applications with our clients to get some of the funding coming through. So you'll see some of the examples there on that slide there in terms of which ones we're working on. So you can start to see some of those numbers are really jumping up now. This is where we need to be as an industry, in a sector, to try and deliver at scale, as I said before, using some of those innovations, using some of those lessons learned that we've experienced on other schemes to try and deliver at scale and reduce costs, so we can do this across large estates and large regions in the UK. So you could probably add them up there for yourself. We've probably got 4,000 or 5,000 properties to do in wave 2 over the next 2 years. And we've already started doing surveys and started to do some of the initial works on some of those schemes now. And again, when wave 3 comes out, or wave 2.2 or whatever they're going to call it, we'll be applying again to then ramp up again with some of our other clients. So what we're trying to do is all those schemes is trying to, work with our clients all the way through it. So we are working with our existing clients, working for some new clients, but mainly our existing clients, to try and help them understand, because a lot of those clients that we're working with, we're there for a long term. So some of the clients we're working with for the next 20 years. So we want to help them understand how to really get themselves retrofit ready for the next few years, and understand how they can do that across their large asset portfolios for a number of years. So it's all around past 2035. What do the funding require? So not just back past 2035 in terms of the compliance, because that's quite a complex standard in itself. We're all on a learning curve in terms of past 2035. There's a lot of people learning quite a lot, getting things wrong initially, which is inevitable. But we're all learning from it and going on the journey with past 2035 and improving the process, but also around funding requirements in terms of making sure we're hitting the targets, EPCC, heat demand targets, whatever it is that's coming through. We need to make sure that they understand that we're planning from that right from the start when we're doing surveys, so they understand how we're going to get from A to B in terms of that retrofit journey. Understanding procurement requirements, making sure that we understand how we're going to deliver those schemes. What is a suitable procurement vehicle that they might want to use, and understanding what needs to go in the contractual related requirements, so the T's and C's. So we are sitting down with a lot of clients now, going through contracts with them to make sure we are covering off both our liabilities and the clients, to make sure that it's all covered off in terms of drawing through those past 2035 and funding requirements through to the contract, and making sure it all makes sense for everybody. Customer journey is key element across everything we do. I know it's a priority for everybody at the moment, but especially around retrofit, because there's a lot of learning to be done on the retrofit, on the customer journey as well. Lots of people don't understand why we're doing a lot of this work, and when you start to engage with the tenants and they start to come up with questions around why we're doing it, it is interesting to see what problems they've got. Whether it's the fact they like their log burn, or whether it's the fact they don't want to lose their loft space, or whatever it is, there's always quite some key issues, you know, back additions, back extensions that they don't want to lose. So some difficult conversations to be had with retrofit with residents. But there's a journey to be had, and it's quite a comprehensive engagement process we go through with all our clients and our customers, or their customers, to make sure they go on the journey with us, so they understand the whole process, what we're doing, why we're doing it, the benefits they're going to receive once we've completed the works, and how they're going to then continue to benefit from those improvements through training and behavioral change, and any documents we can give them in terms of handover documents. So a massive learning curve to go through in terms of that resident engagement process as well. So in terms of the journey itself, there's many steps to it, but I've sort of tried to limit it down to a number, 3 or 4 of them, in terms of that initial strategy, the assessment, then through to the design, through to delivery of the installation works, and then post-occupancy and the resident engagement side. And what we're trying to say there is there's a number of stages in the process that can be focused on, and it comes back to that innovation again, in terms of how we can innovate across all those elements to try and help our clients deliver these at scale, because we can't do it the same way as the lady said before. You can't do this, expect to do the same thing and expect to get a different place if you keep doing it the same way. So we need to think about innovation, we need to think about different ways of doing things, and we need to think about introducing those sooner rather than later, so we can start delivering at scale. So we really are starting to try and encourage innovation within United Living, and we want to talk to businesses that are out there at the moment, looking at retrofit and looking at how we can innovate in that market, because it does need it. So we recently launched our new innovation strategy within the business, and we're out there now talking to external partners to try and help us look at all those different stages around innovation. Encourage anybody on the call who's got an idea that wants to put through, please apply it to our system using that email address at the bottom there. But every element of that process, whether it's a strategy side, whether it's delivery, whether it's post-occupancy, can be innovated in some way. So we're really keen to talk to people around how that might happen. And just quickly, some examples of where we're seeing innovation coming through now. So one of the ones that we're working on is a company called Kestrix. This is a startup company that's only been going for six to 12 months. And they get receiving funding through various funding pots and investments from the government to try and deliver this or develop this solution to optimize the retrofit survey process. So if you go back to that slide, I originally talked about the fact that we've got 4,000 or 5,000 surveys to be done, properties to be worked on, so therefore surveys need to be done. How can we deliver that? If that's just one company working on some of these schemes, if you apply that to 6, 7, 8 main contractors that are all doing the same sort of volumes, that's some big numbers of surveys that need to be done over the next couple of years. And we know the market isn't ready. So how can we do it quickly? How can we do it in line with the PAS 2035? How can it give us the right information so that we're pricing the works correctly for our clients, so we don't get into that problem of going back out and doing lots of more surveys? So Kestrix is looking at an AI automated process through a drone survey to try and pick up as much information through AI software and machine learning software that can pick up various bits of information, and then transfer that into a data source so that we can look at it and then start to price schemes much quicker. So if you think about retrofit assessment, can take 3 or 4 hours. These things, whilst it's not PAS 2035 compliant just yet, things can take place in 10 minutes. So the scale is there, the benefits are obvious, and we're trying to help these guys. So we've applied for some funding with Innovate UK, with Kestrix, and with Peabody. We've just received the funding to help develop this. So we got about 12, 18 months to develop this new solution for these guys. And we're going to start trying it out some of our clients' properties to see how we can get this working and optimized for everybody in the supply chain. And the second one we want to talk about is, what I mentioned previously, is around off-site manufacturing. So currently, most of the fabric works is usually EWI or IWI in some instances. And we know the market can't cope with the volumes that we've got. We've already seen some shortages, both in installer partners and also in the supply as well. And that's only going to get worse as we start to really ramp up the volumes of work that needs to be taking place. So we're talking to offsite manufacturers like Wunderhaus. This again is another startup business that's been going for 6 to 12 months, received funding from the government to really get to grips with what needs to be put together to help offsite solutions be produced at scale again, to help us improve the fabric of our clients' properties. So there's Wunderhaus, there's other businesses called Ultrapanel, there's Melius Homes, which some people may have heard of, that she worked on some energy spong schemes as well. There's BT Passive, but there's plenty of people out there now looking at offsite because they know that's going to be where the big growth area is for retrofit. And that's where we see a lot of where we're going to be spending a lot of our time with our clients to try and understand how we can do this at scale. But also we see that the cost is going to come down if we can do it at scale offsite. It should be cheaper, it should be safer, it should be better quality than anything that's gone before. So that's where we're really keen on in terms of improving innovation. So that's all I want to go through for you guys, just to present where we are and what the sort of tasks we're faced with over the next few years to get to grips with that key thing about delivering retrofit at scale across the regions, especially for some of the bigger clients who've got thousands and thousands of properties across the UK. How can we do it cheaper, better, safer, and better quality? Thank you.